Hi everybody, this is Jallo here from Highlick, and today we're gonna talk about nicotine and devices. So let's start. First, let's see what is nicotine and how it works. So nicotine is an alkaloid mainly derived from tobacco plant, used as a stimulant, particularly when inhaling tobacco smoke. It acts on the brain and it's psychoactive substance. It is naturally present in tobacco varying levels of concentration depending on the part of the plant. It is found in the form of particles suspended in smoke. It is responsible for the physical dependence of cigarette, and uh, it's what provides pleasure, a feeling of relaxation, intellectual stimulation. It also has anxiolytic, antidepressant, and appetite suppressant action. Sorry about some of the pronunciation. Its action is not limited also only to the brain. It also impacts the respiratory system and the cardiovascular system. Nicotine absorption from inhaling cigarette smoke is very rapid in the order of few seconds, and its puff inhaled is equivalent to a nicotine shot to your body. So it's really important, and so that's what makes it really dependent. So next we're gonna talk about different type of usage of nicotine in tobacco and related products. The primary products that contain nicotine are tobacco products such as cigarettes, cigar, pipe tobacco, and chewing tobacco. There are some nicotine-containing smoking cessation products such as patches and gums, in addition to electronic cigarettes or e-cigarettes that contain purified nicotine. So for tobacco product, we have the cigarette, of course. The amount of nicotine contained in a single cigarette varies. Only a fraction of the nicotine is inhaled. And you have also a chewing tobacco that is made from natural tobacco leaves. And it's also called small smokeless tobacco or dip. The nicotine is absorbed through the oral surface. And the second type of nicotine usage is smoking cessation product, like nicotine gum, as we told you before. They are used as an aid to smoking cessation. Gum contain a small amount of nicotine and raise the nicotine concentration in the body slower than cigarette smoking. Nicotine patches contain a large amount of nicotine in order to allow the drug to be delivered continuously for many hours daily. And the last, or the most important for us at least, or the type of nicotine usage in tobacco is, sorry, not tobacco, but tobacco related product. It's the newcomer e-cigarette. That's why we are all here today. And e-cigarette is battery-powered device that vaporize nicotine, sometimes called e-liquid, as you all know, or e-juice. The nicotine in this solution is often highly concentrated and may be mixed with flavoring agents such as blueberry, bubblegum, vanilla, strawberry, blackberry, etc., etc. So the next one we're going to talk is about the extraction process of the pure nicotine. So first of all, you have to make the sourcing, like find the necessary raw material to start like your extraction process. And you have the filtration process afterwards, and then you start the extraction from tobacco leaves and the separation, then the purification and the distillation. We will not focus much about all these processes because it's much more professional, and maybe next time we will find a time where we can do it together. The next one, I'm going to show you here the physical chemical property of pure nicotine, the molecular formula, molecular weight, CAS number, boiling point, solubility, appearance, and storage, recommended storage temperature, and condition, like which condition you should keep it or storage it. Yeah, this is the physical chemical property of the pure nicotine. You can check it later on our website and other tools that we provide. Next, we're gonna talk nicotine in e-cigarette. As you know, nicotine e-cigarette contain nicotine, but in its purified form. So, the e-cigarette, they're designed to deliver a nicotine-containing aerosol to the user, and we have different quantitative measure of strength. In percentage and concentration and number of puff, it depends. So as you all know, mg usually represents the nicotine concentration per volume. Like we can say that a bottle may be of nicotine of 10 ml have inside 2.4% of nicotine, or you can say it's 24 mg per ml. And you can also measure it through puff. For example, you can say this bottle of 10 ml have 100 or 200 or 500 1000 puff. So that's how we measure the nicotine inside and etc. And in the following here, you can see some of our tests we made for TPD in Europe. This is a 10 ml, 18 mg, 50-50 PGVG, and this is the result of the emission. There's a required by TPD to test all nicotine containing products in Europe before launching the market. So that's what we did, and there is some product, as you can see here. Those products are not forbidden to be inside the e-liquid at a certain level. So we made the test and all was positive. And this means like the nicotine was really good. Only the nicotine, as you can see here, like in 10 ml, 18 mg, like for every 100 puff, like the client inhale around like 11.10 mg per 100 puff. On the next one, we're gonna talk about different type of nicotine in the e-cigarette. So the first one is the freebase. And the freebase nicotine is in its purest form compared to the other nicotine derivative. In fact, the nicotine is much more potent when heated, and it can be absorbed much faster in the lungs and in your brain. And we also have nicotine salt, that is a newcomer in the market, and it is much more stable and not volatile as the freebase form. The goal was to mimic the sensation of smoking e-cigarette as closely as possible. The secret ingredient that make all the magic happen lies in the use of some type of acid like benzoic acid. And here the benzoic acid serves two key purposes in salt nicotine. The first one, it helps salt vaporize at lower temperature, as well as lowering the pH level in the salt nicotine, which results in the smoker throat heat. And then the next one is a chemical reaction that occurs that makes the nicotine more absorbable, like freebase in the body. So that's the two main important purpose of using benzoic acid in nicotine salt. But nicotine salt, you have many different type of acid you can use, depend on the formulation of each company. But at Highlight, like we provide the best solution. We only have two types of nicotine. nicotine, the salt nicotine, sorry. One is the salt A and the second one is the salt B, and they are all like very safe and very good ones. So next one, like I can show you a graph from our salt nicotine A and B that we compared with our free-base nicotine. And the graph was provided after experiment from our lab. So here you can see in this nicotine stimulation chart, like the nicotine free base uh, uh, you can feel the throat hit on the free base. The throat hit is very strong on the throat. It's very you have a very big hit on the throat, and then in the head it's really small, but on the chest it's moderate. So the free base nicotine give you like provide you pleasure, but at a limited level in the head, and moderate in the chest, but really big throat hit. Compare that to the nicotine salt A that is used as we use acid, fruit acid to make the nicotine salt A, and you see in the throat like it's moderate, but in the chest is really strong, very big, and in the head it's moderate. So it has like it is much more closer to the tobacco than the free base nicotine. And the third one is the nicotine salt B. You see here in the picture that in the head is really big, like you get satisfaction very easily and very fast. And here on the throat, as you can see here, it's small, so you almost don't feel the throat heat. It's very small, but you have a moderate like heat on the chest. So as you can see in the picture here, yeah, it's moderate. So the B is much more near with the tobacco smoking experience than the A or the free base nicotine that we used to have. So in this like graph here, as you can see, this is the free base graph. This is free base nicotine, like the experiment we get, and this is the tobacco one. See the peak here? Yeah, that's the tobacco, normal tobacco smoking. And this blue line is the nicotine salt A. So, and the nicotine salt B is follow closely the experience with the tobacco smoking experience. You see here? So it's much more near the B, our B salt is much more near the normal cigarette smoking experience than the other salt we have or the free base nicotine that we provide. So it's really totally different experience, and yeah, you can find more details in our Hilux website later on. And next one, we're gonna talk about nicotine discoloration and impact on the taste and quality. This is a really important topic for us because as a nicotine provider, nicotine seller, we have encountered many like questions and also doubts from clients about this type of the discoloration, what is made, is it bad or not. So at Hilux we made the experiment a few years ago, and I can explain it to you here now. So as you all know that nicotine has an unpleasant smell, bitter taste, transparent liquid color. When in contact with air and light surface can easily change to dark red color due to oxidation. It is soluble in water and alcohol, and in contact with the nose and mouth can be easily absorbed by the skin. After a long-term test and experiment conducted at Hilux Lab, we found some of the reasons why nicotine color changed. And below I will explain to you one by one the reason and the impact of such changing. So the first one is air. Like it's nicotine oxidation is very easy and accelerated when in contact with air. So as you can see here in the picture, we have two bottles of nicotine base, one not fully filled and one fully filled. As you can see, after a few times putting them together, you can totally see the difference between the colors here. See, this one is not fully filled, and you have this space here that is filled with air, so the color change very easily and fast. While here the same product but filled fully without much air inside, and you see the color is still intact, almost transparent. So this is really important. The longer the exposure of the nicotine with air, the higher the degree of changes with the color we will obtain. So the next one is chemical reaction with other substances. As you can see in the picture here, we have 100 mg per ml nicotine VG in VG solution, and the same product in PG solution. And you can see clearly the difference between these two bottles. This one is PG solution, PG based 100 PG, and this one is VG based 100 VG. So the nicotine reacts with VG more easily and changes the color more easily than if it is in a PG solution 100%. So this is really important to note. And as an alkaline solution, we'll experience a change of color from clear light yellow to red during the mixing process with other acidic substances. So this is the reason why VG reacts with nicotine easily than VG. On the next one, we're going to talk about temperature. This is a key player in nicotine discoloration. The nicotine is not heat resistant at all. So at a high temperature, nicotine quality can degrade faster. So you can see here, we put one base into a very high temperature and the other one with normal room temperature. So you can see here, this one is almost going to dark. See, this one is still a little bit transparent, like yellowish, light yellowish. So, but this one is almost like dark because it was exposed to temperature for a period of time. So, so the nicotine base normally should be kept in an absolutely low temperature, especially in summer or tropical area where weather is usually hot. So this is really important. If you have your nicotine base and where you live is hot, it's better to put it inside your fridge and put the proper notification that kid and like on our adult cannot use it. The next one we're gonna talk is about storage container. So nicotine is a strong substance. It is very corrosive and can easily change its chemical form when in contact with various substances that result in changing of its molecular aspect or color. So choosing the right container is very important. So as you can see here, we have three types of container. One is brown glass bottle. The second one is white glass bottle, and the third one is normal plastic bottle. So as you can see here, the brown glass bottle, you still have the solution inside, very transparent one, and the one in the glass bottle, normal transparent glass bottle, is little bit yellowish, like transparent yellowish, and the third one you have a slight change of color to yellow. So why this? So that's why we recommend to store this solution in glass bottle, as they don't interact chemically with other substances or process during the container. So plastic bottle react faster with nicotine solution than glass bottle. And glass bottle also, if you can find a brown one that will stop, light coming through the solution, it will be perfect than transparent bottle. So yeah. On the next one, we're gonna talk about time. So it's definitely having impact on the nicotine discoloration, as anything has a warranty period, especially if used over time. So here we made an experiment, like for each nicotine pack we have, we take some sample and put it aside, and in the same temperature condition, and then keep it for 1 year, as you can see here. Was made in November, 19 November 2014, and it's almost dark, reddish, red kind of dark. And this one was made in February 7, 2015. So the next one was made in May 10, 2015. As you can see, the color is totally different. And this one was made in August 21st, 2015. And this one was made on November 30, 2015. So you see, this one is transparent, while the same one year ago, with the same condition of keeping them, you have this color change like very strongly. So when you buy nicotine, it's better to use it fresh and then use it fast. Buy what you need, but don't keep it for longer period of time. At least if you buy it, you dilute it first into the lower density or lower concentration, so that we can keep it longer period of time. That's the recommendation. Next part, we're going to talk about salt nicotine. As you all know, salt nicotine is a more stable form of nicotine compared to free-base nicotine. It's provide a high nicotine density with smoother throat heat. The nicotine is easily absorbed by the lung and felt by the mind, providing instant satisfaction. In Hylic, we provide two types of nicotine, the salt A and the salt B. Both is product of nicotine reaction with different acid. The salt A is made with organic acid, while salt B is made with benzoic acid. After many improvements and upgrades, unlike traditional nicotine salt out in the market today, Hylic nicotine salt maintains highest nicotine purity and quality, and does not produce other compounds. Hylic uses unique process of synthesize, which is purer and safer for the client. And we are really proud with the product we offer because of the quality. So the nicotine salt A, Hylic salt A uses safer and more natural acid found in fruit to neutralize the alkaline in nicotine. For trademark patent and production formula protection purpose, of course, we will not be able to name the acid being used for our nicotine salt. The heat used to decompose an organic fruit acid is less than compared to the heat used to benzoic acid. A big vaping device use higher standard heat than the heat used in organic acid. The excessive use of nicotine salt over a high-powered devices can easily stain wick, carbonize, and atomization core, resulting to a burn smell. The salt A is created to fit pod juices. It's extremely smooth. It should not be used with big machine to enjoy it, and you can see why later. The salt B, in the other hand, we use benzoic acid to make nicotine. It is an acid that is widely found in nature in the form of free acid or derivatives. The salt B is made to suit both board and big devices such as RTA, MOD, and Reapers. So we try to best solve the issue of burning wick and carbonization of atomization core. The ultra smooth but has powerful effect to the sensation of the user. So, for example, the salt A cannot be used into big devices. It's only recommended to be used in small pods. But the salt B, at a different density and concentration, you can use it into big devices. This is for the introduction of salt part. And here we're gonna tell you, as you know, there is a TPD in Europe, like where the regulation forbids more than 20 ml per for 10 ml bottle. So we pilot, we provided our nicotine salt with a way that we follow this regulation, but based on the nicotine density and purity that we have in our product. So here you have for our salt B that contain like 54.9% of pure nicotine. So in order to follow the TPD regulation of maximum 20 mg per ml, you can use high salt B up to 35 mg in order to get 19.2 mg of nicotine content. So in this way, if you test our nicotine salt 35 mg for its nicotine content, you can only find 19.2 mg of nicotine. So it follows TPD regulation in Europe. So 35 mg is okay, and 35 mg salt nicotine means 19.2 mg of pure nicotine and with some added acids. And the salt A, which contains 37.9% of pure nicotine. So it's the same logic, like the maximum of 20 mg per ml allowed in Europe. You can use high salt nicotine up to 50 mg in order to get 18.9 mg that is still within the regulation of Europe. So as we are talking, this is the TPD requirement in Europe. So TPD compliant e-liquid rules e-liquid manufacturer need to follow in order for the product to be TPD compliant. Bottle capacity must not exceed 10 ml. Nicotine strength must not exceed 20 mg per ml. And bottle must have childproof caps and nozzles that limit the e-liquid flow. Bottle must have nicotine warning stickers, and e-liquid boxes must include warning and information leaflet. All these is very important, at least here, as you can see. This one is important. This one is important. This one is important because it's all about safety and stuff. But I'm not sure why this was like required or why this was made available. And nicotine strength for 20 mg, as we explained you on earlier, like that you need continuous vaping in order to give, because it doesn't give you much more quicker satisfaction of nicotine. So implementing this 20 mg per ml for freebase, because at the time it was like freebase nicotine salt was not available in the European market and most of the market around the world. So when they made this one, it was actually to limit, the nicotine that people can, inhale. But as a free-base nicotine at the time, 20 mg was, let's say, a little bit less for someone who really wanted to quit. So, and the 10 ml was smaller bottle, so it's become more expensive. So, yeah, but the law is the law, and regulation is made to be followed. So that's it. But that was my opinion on these two. But I think the last three was really important one that needed to be done. And yeah, and also the issues that manufacturer faces, the restriction above are the one with direct impact on vapors, but there are additional regulations that affect the vape manufacturer. The most important changes for vaping company include 6 months notification on the product, means like later on you will have less and less innovation from the market, and also emission testing for all e-liquid. It's open up a new business opportunity for lab that testing, and also kill some small businesses that make their own e-liquid and stuff. So it's kind of controlling the number of e-liquid and markets, like the expansion of the market and advertising restriction. Of course, it is necessary actually to avoid people not the adult age to get like bombarded with advertising and stuff. But yeah, this is necessary, but those two is kind of like extra, like restriction on manufacturer and stuff. So next part we're gonna talk about nicotine devices in general. Uh, as you can see here, this is kind of the prototype, the first prototype of e-cigarette invented by Honley. It's not exactly the same, but it is made to look like the same. So, as a definition, e-cigarette include a diverse group of devices that allow users to inhale aerosol, which typically contain nicotine, PG, propylene glycol, VG, vegetable glycerin, flavorings, and other additives. E-cigarette may vary widely in design and appearance, but generally operate in similar manner and are composed of similar components. These devices are referred to as e-cigarettes, cigar-like here. This kind of a cigar-like you have. And I don't know if you can see it properly. So, like this. It looks like similar to normal cigarette. Yeah. And you have e-hookah that we don't have here. You have emojis here. So this can be called an emoji. And you have vape pens that not exactly the same, but similar to this one, vape pen. You have pods. This is pod, like for nicotine salt. Not bad. And tank system. Yeah, tank system actually is this one. You have a big tank. So yeah. The term e-cigarette is used to represent all of various products in this market. Here we're going to talk a little bit about how e-cigarette works. So e-cigarette devices are composed of a battery. So this is the battery. It's a vaporator one. And you have a reservoir. So if we take this one for example, so this is the reservoir, and I can also call tank for holding the solution that typically contain nicotine. And you have a heating element inside. I don't know if you can see it, but it's inside. This one is the heating element. See, it's from here the power comes and then hit the coil inside, and atomizer. So atomizer, this is this is an atomizer. And a mouthpiece. That's the mouthpiece. See? Yeah, so The device hits a liquid solution often called e-liquid or e-juice into an aerosol that's inhaled by the user. E-liquid typically uses propylene glycol and glycerin as a solvent for the nicotine flavorings and chemicals. And the next part, we're gonna talk about the different generation of nicotine. First, we're gonna see the first generation here, were often similar in size and shape to conventional cigarettes, with a design that also simulated the traditional cigarette in terms of the color used in devices and were often called cigarettes. We don't have like exactly the same color here. You see, this is really similar with the normal tobacco one. It's almost the same color, but this is a new kind of pod, but a little bit similar to that one. So we're just gonna show it to you as a comparison to what you have on the PPT here. But normally, the first generation, you have this cartridge, and then you have the battery, and then you have the battery, and then you have the battery here, right? So it's not exactly the first generation one, but it's similar. That's why I'm showing it because we don't have first generation. It's been like years since we use it, so it's really hard to find one. So we have the second generation of e-cigarette, which uses the cartridge design for the part of the device that holds e-liquid. This is the cartridge that holds the e-liquid. This one is new one. It's not pre-filled. It's empty one and ready to be filled. And usually, this is how you drop. This is how you add the nicotine. Like you drop it here, and then you have this coil here that is wet. You see, when you add it until it's at a certain level, it's okay. You close it. You close it, and it's connected to a heating element. And then this is the battery here. So you put them together, and then it's ready to vape like this. This is the second generation of e-cigarette. So let's see the third generation one. Unfortunately, we couldn't find the third generation of e-cigarette, as you can see it here, but you can see it in the picture here. You have a clear tank, a heating element, airflow base, peace mouth, a puff button, battery, and a power button here. So we couldn't find it in our facilities here. Really sorry for that. But this is they are shaped like pen and larger, cylindrical, and are often referred to tank system in a node to transparent result that from larger amount of it's little bit similar. It's kind of an upgraded version of this one. So this is the third generation, because this one being the second generation with the CE4, CE5, if you remember, like as in modifiers. So this is an upgraded version of this one, just much more bigger, much more tank system, cylindrical, Yeah, so the fourth generation. The fourth generation is many kind of devices, because the fourth generation really like bring a lot of different type of devices. You have like how to say, You have rebuildable atomizer, reconstructable battery, different battery size. See, this is the fourth generation. That's where really innovation started to, be pumped inside the e-cigarette market, and then like see a jump kind of different kind of devices. So here, this one you have a battery. Uh, it's a Revenger X compressor. Okay, you have the battery inside, and it's two batteries. See, very easy, and the tank is bigger. So that is the period of cloud chasing. This type of devices you get mostly high VG content. Take a big photo, you get a really big cloud with those. Comparatively to this one is it's not like you don't buy outside battery. It's a battery itself. So it's a free max like device, and you just add your tank at the top, and then smoke it. Very easy to use. See, and you can adjust the power here. You can go up to 80, and then you can charge it directly with your USB key. Very convenient. And the next is the latest type, what Joel brings to the market. The pod system is solved. The pod vape or pod mode, the newest generation of vaping product, easy to use and simple to maintain. Just replace the pod. They are higher nicotine strength, mostly salt with integrated pod instead of tanks. A pod is capable of delivering a cigarette-like experience, replicating the convenience and impact of smokers' crave. So we have two type of pod here. This one also pod system. This one you have different kind of shape, different kind of content, and all is really very good and deliver like at low power. We deliver like very satisfying nicotine salt to the body, and it's very good one. So this is the latest generation. You have different. This is just some example I'm giving you here. There is a different type of vape pod outside there that we cannot maybe even put inside this room. So yeah. So at last, we talk about the devices and the nicotine density relation, because the more powerful and the more recommended nicotine density we have inside the devices. For example, pod system, low power, and big tank like this one that do cloud chasing and stuff like that, and reverb and stuff. They need big power to do it. So here you can see from first generation devices to the fourth, the widely used nicotine is pre-based nicotine extracted from tobacco leaves. Usually the density level of all devices are relatively low, as the pre-based nicotine has a harsh throat heat and need continuous vaping throughout the day, because it delivers a slower nicotine shot into the body. The latest generation that was created to simulate the real nicotine transmission into the body, as of normal tobacco, it has higher density of nicotine that can go up to 50 mg per ml, things that usually impossible or not recommended with the pre-base. So what that means is that with a free base and big devices like that, you almost cannot go up to 18 mg. But you have smaller devices, this one you could go up to 35 MB because it's low power, and also you need like the delivery was not too big, or the aerosol into your body. So for this one you could use up to 35 mg per ml of freebase nicotine. And for this one, maybe the highest like you can go is about 20 mg or 80 mg, because it's too powerful and deliver huge airflow into the throat. You cannot use higher than that. So usually it will. So the fourth generation e-cigarette really work in order to reduce the, the nicotine density in e-liquid in order to enjoy better experience and stuff. So this one you could use 35 mg of freebase. This one you could use up to 20 mg. And this one up to 50 mg per ml, but first generation like really was not that innovative. And for this pod system, because it's nicotine salt, so you can go up 50 mg per ml. That's it of nicotine salt. So for the pod system, you can enjoy much more nicotine, but maybe after just 5 puffs, and then you are done for a period of time. But all other devices, you needed a continuous vaping in order to get satisfaction with the nicotine inside. So, well, this is the presentation I prepared for you today, and I'm really happy to take time and also give you some idea regarding nicotine devices. And some of my colleagues will also have something for you, and partners also all around the world will have some information and some presentation to give to you, and we welcome you for the public expo. It will be virtual online for most people, but we are located in China, and we will be providing like safety measures and everything. We really thank you for your time and taking your time checking us, and you can find us anytime at highlight.com. And this is Jalal Abdullah, and I was glad to be here today. Thank you very much on behalf of our Thank you.